and call that good. Hello, this is Amanda Joy with the Joy Spring, and I had a completely different video in mind this week, but I had to share some great results that I had with a photocopy transfer technique that I did directly onto paint in my journal, and I'm so excited that it worked out. I also had a really interesting spiritual insight that I am wanting to journal with and incorporate into this new photocopy transfer technique. If you came just to see the photocopy transfer technique, I posted a timestamp in the description to get you right to it. But if you would like to participate in the journal activity, grab your journal and some markers and let's get started. What you will need for this complete activity is a journal, markers, a few bottles of craft paint, wax paper or aluminum foil to keep your pages separated, a few flat bristle brushes or foam brushes, a black and white photocopy. I think this was an inkjet, Mod Podge or white school glue, and some magazines. I start every creative journal session with a dual-handed journal activity to get the two hemispheres of my brain synced up and to get my non-dominant hand ready for the next activity, which is the dual-handed journal activity. So since this is a centering activity that I'm wanting to do, I will start with this version, which I'm slowly spiraling out. And as I'm doing this, I'm just focusing on the sounds that the markers are making on the paper. And imagining that I am finding my center through this process. Turn it around and spiral inwards. As I'm doing this, I am connecting to the part of me that is centered. This part already exists within me and I am just connecting with it. And now I just let my hands move freely. And this on its own can be a very calming activity. Okay. So this being a centering journal session, I am going to That's a nice color. The prompt that I've selected is, where is my center? I write this out with my dominant hand. And allow the answer to come through my non-dominant hand. Okay, so I wrote, where is my center? The center is in your breath, the space between the breathing out and breathing in. It is the neutral space between the polarities. The breath is the most foundational representation of the polarities that you have to work with. These forces exist within your body as the breath, and it is the access to your center. Okay. So, I am going to not completely cover this up, but I'm going to obscure it just a little bit, and I'm going to lighten this page because this is the page I'm going to glue down the transfer on. So, maybe this color. And as the paint dries, the Sharpie is going to peek through again. It's already happening. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Okay. I think oh, silly me. This is how it's gonna go. I think I'm just going to do a little bit of paint play. The epiphany I had to do with the Vesica Piscis. Which is an ancient symbol. I don't know too much about it. It's just two overlapping circles. just kept thinking, there is something to that center space. And as I was journaling the other evening, it occurred to me that the dual-handed journaling gets the left and right hemisphere of the brain synced together and gets the polarities synced together, and that overlap, I suspect that this overlap is a representation of the third eye. Because if you notice in some East Indian images, the third eye is always put up on its side. And I thought, that looks so weird. Why don't they put it, you know, in alignment with the regular eyes? And I think that the third eye is when the polarities merge, and it's in that union of the polarities that the gifts of the third eye are expressed. What that means, I'm not entirely sure. I have not done a whole lot of study on the third eye. I will definitely be doing more journaling and research about that. Okay, so this is dry enough. We're about to put some wet glue on it, so we are going to get a brush. Put it on a piece of wax paper. We're going to coat we are going to coat this with a nice thick coat of white glue. I think it's also called PVC glue. My brayer, it's just a gift card. And you'll want to really press this down. And once it's really pressed down, I'm going to let this dry for about 30 minutes. Oops. All right, I guess that's good enough. And then I'll come back in 30 minutes and show you the next step. It is time to start peeling this off. You could probably get away with using a brush to wet this back down. But I also have a little spray bottle that I will likely be using as well. So just start rubbing this off. And I did not mention earlier, if you are wanting to add paint beforehand, like I have, you can watch the first Journal with Me, the first layer video, where I go over laying some of these foundation pages. Look, it's already starting to peek through. So I'm not putting too much pressure on it, at least to begin with. right, let's go ahead and speed this up. Okay, so I've got the main layer of paper off, but there's still a very thin amount, and when this dries it will get a lot whiter, so just keep rubbing. Okay, it still has a thin coat. I'm afraid to do much more rubbing on it. You know, I am really surprised with how well this paper is holding up. This is one of my journals that I designed and am selling on Amazon, and it's just, you know, a thin journal paper, but it's been amazing how flat everything has stayed as I'm adding paint and collage onto it. And I'm really kind of abusing this journal, and it is held together incredibly well so far, which I cannot say that for a lot of my other journals. The paper stays really flat. It's just, it's fantastic. So after I get completely finished with this, I will put a clear coat of the Mod Podge back on it. You can also get a clear coat satin varnish in the craft paint section that you can also put a coat on. It just really brightens everything up. So it just turned out really nice. I'm thinking about doing a little bit more playing. It makes me a little bit nervous, but I don't know about that. So I'm gonna let this dry for, I don't know, maybe 30 more minutes, and then we'll play some more. Well, I figured that I could search for some collage images to add to this page that reflect what I journaled about. I'm wanting to do a word collage. I won't know until I get through the images, but I just find random words and then kind of place them together until a phrase forms. So let's get started. I'm going to start cutting out random words. Okay, this is a good start. I've got a few more words that I think I would like to search for, so I will likely turn the video off for a moment and scour a few more magazines, and then I'll come back on and do some placing. I let this dry, and a lot of it still had that white on it. So I had a magic eraser in the kitchen, and it totally took the paper off and left the ink, so it's lightly damp. So I'm just kind of giving it a gentle rub. And then some of the dry part. That is amazing. If you wipe too much, it will take off the ink. But I'm really, boy, magic erasers. So I cut out some of my words and played around with them, and I kept hearing this phrase, so I had to go and I couldn't find the word opposites, so I had to create it. So it says, breathe in the tender seedling of your heart. It is the union of the delicious love of opposites. I love that. So I found a couple of other little things. Oops. Found a little eye to put in that Vesica Piscis. It's not showing up very well anymore. And then this butterfly. Maybe I'll put it right there. I found this pretty, one of the pieces I cut out, but thinking about maybe putting it on the edge here. I think I like that. Okay, well, I'll probably start by pasting this on. Get this out of the way. It's going to be quite a task. Well, as this was drying, I found a couple of more small elements that I'm going to glue onto the page. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of paint play. Okay, and try these. All right, this little voice is telling me to stop messing with it and call that good. Here we go. So there it is. I really hope that you enjoyed this process. If you did, give this video a like and be sure to subscribe to the Joy Spring and hit the bell icon to get notified when I post more videos like this one. Have a joyful day.